On November 12th, 3 weeks ago, Redwood Pharma went out with a press release that the last patient was treated in our phase 2 trial for RP101, our therapy for postmenopausal women suffering from dry eye disease. This milestone represents the largest accomplishment for the company to date. And we're really excited about what's happened the last 12 months. In February of this year, the first patient was enrolled, and we've had actually a very good enrollment according to plan. And the last patient, as I said, was just treated. And we are now compiling results, analyzing, and look to publish top-line results in Q1 of the coming year. So that means that we'll be accelerating now the partner activities for RP101 and also expanding our current portfolio of products. We attended BioEurope in Hamburg last month, and I have to say it was a success. I mean, BioEurope is a fantastic platform for large companies and small companies to meet and to talk about innovative products that can be developed and brought to market. We met with companies, big pharma and smaller companies, to discuss the potential of RP101. And I'm very happy that we had such a good response. Some of the takeaways from that meeting was, number one, is that big pharma understands that dry eye is a multifactorial disease, that there's not just one single bullet to solve all types of dry eye. We're going to then now follow up on BioEurope and going to be in San Francisco for the JP Morgan conference in San Francisco. So for those companies who are watching on the internet right now, you can contact us and we'll try to set up some meetings to discuss RP101. Our idea then in the company, our business model, is to develop products through the end of phase 2. And now we're looking for partners to take over phase 3 and to commercialize the product, RP101. So we'll expect them then to produce, sell, and market this new dry eye therapy. We have retained a transaction advisor to assist us in this process. This is a group that has experience within life science, within ophthalmology, within licensing, and mergers and acquisitions. So the goal here is to generate a structured process to maximize interest in the licensing of RP101. We can be looking at different types of licensing arrangements, either with a global deal or in several smaller deals. And here, one does not preclude the other. Perhaps even smaller licensing deals will be larger than the whole. And we'll be evaluating new potential products in the coming months that fit into our ophthalmology focus. We're currently looking at new products. So the interest is large within ophthalmology, both from an investor standpoint and as well from big pharma. We feel like that we're well positioned. Let me tell you now a little bit about RP101, our first drug candidate. It is a low-dose topical estrogen therapy. It'll be the first of its kind, where it is not just dealing with symptoms of dry eye, as most therapies do today. We are going to be affecting an underlying biological mechanism. We'll be helping primarily postmenopausal women. The medical hypothesis being that when women go through menopause, the amount of natural estrogen circulating in their systems diminish, thus causing dry eye. There's a similar model within vaginal atrophy, where today estrogen topically is the leading therapy to help keep vital cells for women. So we're just piggybacking on this. So we have a unique target patient population, a unique mechanism of action, which we feel are unique selling points for RP101. Little bit of background of what is it? What is this therapy, RP101? Well, it's based on two components. The first is estrogen. Estrogen is a widely known active substance has been used for over 50 years in various therapeutic products. What we've done is we've modified it to make an analog that fits within our formulation. Estrogen today is found in over 500 different products globally. And this active has been shown safe and effective in 2 prior clinical trials. The second component is IntelliGel. And IntelliGel is a drug delivery system. It is a hydrogel that basically a drop that you can put on the front of the eye to control the release of active substances. This has been tested non-irritating in vitro and has passed through toxicology without any problems. That is prior to our phase 2. And we have the exclusive license to use this within ophthalmology globally. Let me tell you about the compelling history about estrogen in the treatment of dry eye. Redwood Pharma acquired the rights to data from 2 prior clinical trials from nascent pharmaceuticals in the US. Estrogen was then formulated and administered 4 times a day in 138 postmenopausal women. And here we saw really interesting results. Estrogen, as we called E3P, that's our acronym for it, compared to Restasis, which is based on cyclosporin, it takes a couple of months to show effect. We saw effect in weeks, in several weeks in the prior data. E3P was well tolerated, whereas in 20% of those that take Restasis suffer problems such as burning. And E3P may actually affect many different causes, many different etiologies compared to Restasis, which really just deals with the resulting inflammation of dry eye, where we're addressing the underlying cause. So estrogen demonstrated significant effect in both objective and subjective symptoms. Here is an interesting evidence of what we think it can do. On the left-hand side, you see the production of tear fluid measured by the Schirmer test, AST. Over a 12-week period, we see that one of the groups actually could then stimulate production of tear fluid. This is an objective measure. So we're influencing a biological mechanism for the production of the critical components in the tear film. At the same time, on the right, we have a subjective measure, foreign body sensation, FBS as it says. Over the same 12-week period, we saw a diminishing of this symptom significantly. So what compelling evidence? On the left, we see that we increase tear fluid, and on the right, we reduce symptoms. This, from a regulatory perspective, is what the agencies such as the FDA and the EMA want to see. And we can say here with confidence that we can help patients by delivering estrogen to the front of the eye. So the conclusions, thus, from the 2 prior trials with estrogen, both signs and symptoms were significant or better than baseline and or vehicle. The Schirmer test, which measures the production of fluid, showed improvement over placebo as early as 4 weeks. And we saw significance at 8 weeks with Schirmer test production, as when you compare Restasis, you saw that at 12 weeks. So a fantastic story from a unique selling point compared to the competition, the leading competition. In short, it was safe and effective. So what are we taking from this? Well, Redwood said that we could improve this product by formulating with a vehicle, with IntelliGel, to perhaps reduce the number of doses per day, increase convenience, and perhaps even increase effect for women. So we created a new trial here in Europe that's ongoing right now. It's a randomized, placebo-controlled, multi-center phase 2 trial for postmenopausal women with chronic or moderate to severe dry eye. The clinics were located here in Europe, in Germany, Hungary, and Austria. The first patient was treated in February. The last patient was treated, as I said, here in November. And we expect to present top-line results in Q1 of the coming year. So we are looking at different objective signs and subjective symptoms. The primary objective is to look at establishing effect in the dosing regimen of RP101. And the primary endpoint, though, then will be looking at the production of tear fluid by Schirmer test. Then we have secondary endpoints such as signs and symptoms. I think there are 9 total. And then we'll be looking at safety as well as pharmacokinetics of RP101. We divided about 100 patients up into 4 groups to basically look at a high and a low dose, to look at the possibility of dosing once or twice a day, which we think will really make RP1 a convincing therapy out in the marketplace. And this trial will also help us assess IntelliGel from a performance perspective, as it'll be the first time that's being tested on such a larger basis in the clinic. So the goals of the current trial are: 1, show effect at 1 or 2 drops a day. Where the prior tests were done on 4 times a day, now we're trying to reduce to 1 or 2. This will help thus improve uptake in the marketplace and market penetration. Demonstrate proof of concept of this low-dose estrogen therapy, looking at safety and efficacy. And then from a product positioning standpoint, to look at the target patient population of women, where today, the current therapies are trying to treat all patients with all types of dry eye. I think that we'll have a unique selling point with our technology or with our product, because we're focusing on a specific target group. Also, building evidence around the mechanism of action, that yes, we are dealing with estrogen, we're dealing with a critical component that's vital to healthy cells in the body. And then the idea then is to now result in endpoints that our partner can use in phase 3. So, what does the future look like? I think it's quite bright for us. We have a dry eye market that is really interesting, and the potential for our commercial sales are also quite interesting. We recently commissioned a survey of ophthalmologists and payers in the US and in the EU. And the fantastic results were that the market survey indicated a high intent to treat. It seemed that the medical hypothesis that a estrogen deficiency was the root cause of dry eye in postmenopausal women, that was really easy to understand. So doctors felt that, yes, this is something I can prescribe, and this is something that the patients can easily understand. I think this just supports the idea that our product has the potential of really penetrating the market quite quickly. From a profitability standpoint, the surveys indicated that doctors and patients are willing to pay those prices at those levels that the leading competition are doing today. So when we have a cost of goods sold that are relatively low, this means that we have a very profitable product. So how does this translate into the marketplace? Dry eye is huge. The market is estimated to be $3.1 billion US, and with an aging population, this should even grow even more. As we grow older, the incidence of dry eye increases. The medicines sold into dry eye are the 4th largest segment of medicines in ophthalmology after glaucoma, age-related macular degeneration, and bacterial conjunctivitis. So it's a huge segment. And there are over 344 million people worldwide that suffer from various forms, from mild, moderate to severe. Studies indicate that 60% of those are postmenopausal women. And today they have an inadequate therapy. So I think here we just have a beautiful commercial opportunity to take advantage of. 7% of all postmenopausal women suffer from chronic, moderate to severe dry eye. Again, just underscoring the opportunity. That's 4 million women in the US and 6 million women in Europe. This will translate into a blockbuster drug. And all this is helped by IntelliGel, which is the platform, the drug delivery platform that we have within Redwood. It allows us to build more products around and expand our portfolio. And I think that we see great potential for it. So the plans going forward are thus: 1, compile and analyze the phase 2 results. And I think we look at targeting publishing of these top-line results in Q1. I want to underscore for the investment community and our shareholders that this is a very serious process here, rigorous process that's going to take a little time to make sure that we produce the highest quality results. And we're going to compile a compelling clinical package for licensing and regulatory approval. I think this is key for us in our licensing talks with Big Pharma. And we'd like to maximize RP101 value with one or more licensing and development deals. So we'll be looking at either global license or regional or national licenses. And to wrap up, we'll be looking at also expanding our portfolio of products where there are large unmet medical needs. So with that, I want to wrap up, and I just say I look forward to coming back to you in the first quarter of next year with even better information. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Martin. So you're in a sort of expecting now, waiting for results. It's like waiting for Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Great stuff, huh?
Yeah. The field, you mentioned the market potential, which is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, quite recently there was a very big deal in this area.
Yeah.
I don't know how many parallels you can draw. It was Novartis buying Takeda's drug Cedra for $5.3 billion with $3.4 billion up front.
Yeah.
How excited did that deal make you?
It's reassuring to see that interest by Big Pharma. It confirms that, one, the dry eye area is quite interesting, and that Big Pharma sees the value of new technologies to acquire. I think, as there's an expression in English, one shouldn't get ahead of over your skis too much. We still have to deliver in terms of the phase 2 results, but I think that's a really good deal to look back on. There's another deal that was done recently by Aerie Pharmaceuticals that bought a Spanish dry eye project for something about $10 million US upfront, and this was announced just a couple weeks ago. So I think that there's a lot of activity. It's just good for us.
And you mentioned that you have discussions ongoing and that you're out there to the partnering events around.
Yeah.
What would be the ideal scenario for you when it comes to partnering? Is it a big pharma player that goes global, or is it more, do you want to diverse?
You know, I don't want to preclude any solution, because I know that we have people that are listening, other companies that are listening right now, so I don't want to exclude anybody. I would say that, you know, one deal, if a global deal, obviously has its charm. You know, it would be a very effective way of monetizing our project. But that's not to say that smaller deals in aggregate would be actually more valuable. Clearly, it would be a little more of a burden from our standpoint in terms of executing the deals. But I can't say that I want to exclude any deal.
That's what we call a luxury problem.
I hope so. I hope we're there.
I want to ask if there's anyone in the audience who has a question for Martin as well. Because if there is not, we are actually going to have to conclude now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin.